Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. Today we're going to be learning about variables. So yes, let's get to it. We're learning about variables today. And so you may ask, what are variables? And so let's look at what Google has to say about this. A variable is something that changes or something that can be changed. It's something that varies. It's a quantity that can have any one of a set of values or symbol that represents such a quantity. What does this mean? So we're learning that a variable is something that changes, something that can be changed. Um, well, what does this mean in terms of computer programming? So secondly, apart from just variables being something that can be changed or something that changes, in computer programming, a variable is something that holds a value. It's something that can hold something. Um, and I'll just give you an example so that you can understand that better. A variable can hold a person's age, a variable can hold a person's name, their surname, a day, etc. So variables are basically used to store certain values in the computer program. Apart from that, variables, by definition, in terms of computer programming, it's simply just an area in your computer memory, whereby you're able to store value so that your computer can remember, this value that you've placed. And this allows you to sort of like access that value that you've stored in that variable at a later stage. So let's say making a computer program whereby at the beginning of the program, the user is required to enter their name, and you need to save this name somewhere. You create a variable to store this user's name, and then whenever you need to use it, whenever you need to use that user's name again, you'll simply just reference to that variable, which stored that value of the user's name. So variables hold things that you put into it, and your computer remembers this value that you've stored because the variable is an area inside the computer's memory. Moving on. So in programming, variables store different kinds of data, and there's many different kinds of data types. Um, let's go through the different kind of data types. So we've got integers, real numbers, characters, strings, Boolean data types, arrays, 2D arrays, and records. And there's many more data types apart from just this. So integer data types, basically, numbers like, let's say 1984, it's a number that um, goes from negative infinity to positive infinity, has no decimals, it's just um, numbers like this. And then we've got strings, which are basically many characters, and a character here basically being just one, particular character or one letter, one symbol, one number that is a text and not like an actual integer number or so forth. Now, why is it important for us to sort of like make note of these data types? Well, we're going to see that in the next point in this slide. So next we're looking at the definition of variables. So we know that variables can allow us to store different kinds of data. Variables can allow us to store data, right? So just knowing that is not enough. We also need to know how can we actually now define a variable so that we can actually store something in it, right? So first of all, before we even get to the definition of variables, we need to know that there are many different programming languages that are out there. And so in each different language, there's a different method of defining variables, and this here is called syntax. There's a different method to defining different kinds of variables in different programming languages. So just for this example, for this video, I'm going to show the different ways that you can define variables in two languages, Python and Java. In Python, let's say, yeah, so in Python, we're creating a variable and we're calling it number, and we're storing the number 5 inside. This is literally how you define it. And with the second variable here, name, we want to store the name or the string given. And so we simply just say name is equals to given, and that's how you define the variable name. And so whenever you need to reference or use the value given, you simply just reference the variable name. And in Java, on the other hand, we can see that here it's a bit different. Um, when we're defining the variable name, you can see that there is the keyword string that comes before it. And the reason for that is the value that we're trying to store inside name is a string. And so how Java works is, before you define any kind of a variable, you need to specify what data type will this variable be holding. So in this case, name will be holding a string, and hence we have to specify that name is a string variable, and so that's why we put the string keyword before the variable name, and then we assign it to the string value. And it's the same case with the number variable below. It's going to be storing an integer, so we specify that this variable number is an integer type, and we then assign the value 5 to it. So that is it for today in terms of an introduction to variables and how to go about defining them and so forth. Thank you very much for watching this video. Stay tuned for more.